From in the beginning to the musical apocalypse, this is The Bible Says What? I'm your host, Mike Wiseman. Today's guest has a great message. Love over it. Love over fear, racism, hatred, and anger. I can get behind that. Unfortunately, my guest worships a deity that does not love over it. Isaiah 9:19 through 21, by the wrath of the Lord Almighty, the land will be scorched and the people will be fuel for the fire. They will not spare one another. On the right, they will devour, but still be hungry. On the left, they will eat, but not be satisfied. Each will feed on the flesh of their own offspring. Yet for all this, his anger is not turned away. His hand is still upraised. The loving Christian deity loses his shit when his creations disobey him. He gets so upset that he not only forces them to eat their own children, he sells them into slavery, Judges 3, sends wild animals to maul their children, Ezekiel 5, and even violently drowns every child on the planet, Genesis 7. That is not loving over it. Let's start the show.
Is there anything in the Bible that you yourself have an issue with? Okay, so it took you reading the Bible to realize that those things were bad for you?
Yeah, it actually did. I
Couldn't
didn't
figure this out on your own?
No, Ted Bundy could be redeemed. God doesn't kill children.
What do you think the Passover was? Yahweh sets up a whole system in the Old Testament where you slaughter animals just so he's able to forgive you.
Today's special guest is the founder of Love Over It, Andrew Holmes. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Hey, man. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and be able to chat with you.
Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for coming on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, you introduced me as the founder of Love Over It. Before that, I guess I would say I'm the father of Mason and Malia. Mason will be 4 next month. Malia, she'll be 7 in January, and I'm the husband to Caitlin Holmes. And I live in eastern part of Canada in New Brunswick, and I am a faithful follower of Jesus. I love God. I've been a believer for, I guess, 6 or so years now. Most of my day is taken up by being the director of strategy and business development at a marketing agency here in my hometown. So that's what I do primarily. And then I fill the rest of my time with running Love Over It, which is the brand I'm wearing currently, taking care of my house, of course, running my kids to dance or hockey, what have it. But yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell, man.
Nice. Run into hockey. That's always fun. I got to get my kids in hockey. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's the early ice times that get me. So just to give you a quick snapshot on that, I also play. I played last night at 10:30 p.m. because you're an adult now, so you only get the adult ice times. So I played until midnight, and my son Mason, he had to be on the ice at 7. So I had about a 5-hour sleep gap, and I was from ice rink to ice rink.
No way. Oh, man. Kids and sports. That's how it is, man. That's how it is. Your
That's
Saturdays
it.
and your weekends are gone.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about this Love Over It. Why did you create it? What happened? What started everything?
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So very interesting story, very divine story. And it's actually not something that I really set out to create. It's something that kind of landed on me, and I had to run with it, and I've been running with it. So how it started was, if you remember, 2 years ago, all of the racial uproar in the United States after the brutal murder of George Floyd, that was happening, and there were peaceful protests across the United States and then across the world, and then there were riots and there was a lot of emotion attached to that. And myself, being up here in Canada, and also, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I definitely understandably, yeah. Being up here in Canada, I see that, I sympathize with that, I understand that, and it hurts, and I recognize some of the pain associated as being a black man myself, and just remembering what some of that was, not that extent, of course, but just understanding some of the challenges that come with that, of course.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like I was directly in the action because I feel so removed up here in what we would call peaceful Canada. And and what had happened was there was this video that was circulating online up here in New Brunswick of a man that was onlooking to a peaceful protest for Black Lives Matter, and he was not saying some of the greatest things. He was giving some very strong words, some very strong racially motivated words, and it gets some attention around here and made it to the news, that kind of thing. And I saw that. I was at work one day and I saw that video and I was like, geez, I said, that's an hour up the road from here. That's that. And that, like, again, yeah, like I understand it happens in other places in the world, but it happens so close. You think, geez, it's not boxed in by geography, if you will. So I thought of that, and it touched me, and I just wanted to say something about it, because my initial thought was, if my children were old enough to be part of these conversations, to because they're kids, they don't hear that right now anyway.
Yeah.
Or at least they don't understand it.
Yeah.
Right? So I was thinking, if when they get older, because they will get older, and this is likely to be something that they are faced with, what would I say to them in the event that I'm not here, or what have you? Let's just get that conversation rolling now. So I went into one of an empty office at my work, and I hit record on my phone. I basically explained all of this. I was just recording myself and nothing prepared whatsoever. And I said, look, here's the situation. Here's why I want to make a video. It's for Mason and Malia. And what I'm recognizing is this could happen to them. And if not racism, then at least bullying. At least I think I'm here and I'm going to tell you you're here type of a conversation they might be exposed to. So I said, let's get some advice on the table. Let's just what I tell them. I'm challenged by this. Let's right. And so I'm just kind of like, I'm just explaining how I would direct them. And the advice I'd given was to put love over it. Okay. I said, no matter what you're up against, racism, bullying, hate, whatever, anything is going to cause division, or someone comes and tries to tell you what you're worth, you don't listen to them. That's just them trying to get you to sink to their level. You're not going to do that. You're going to put love over it. Love will win in all these scenarios. Love is the truth. Love will guide you. And I was talking like this, and the video was maybe 4 minutes long. I can't remember, and I posted it, and it started to get well received, which was cool, because I didn't really expect it. I don't know what I expected of it, but people were watching it. People of all ages on my Facebook and Instagram, and they're saying, "Wow, this really helped me to see the situation." Help me not to be so angry or wish such terrible things on this person, or I'm not letting this man's actions toward me define me. I'm going to love over it. I'm gonna choose a different way. I'm gonna forgive this guy. I'm gonna, he needs to be healed. He's obviously working from a place of hurt, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of comments were rolling in of that nature, and the video started getting shared around, and it I wouldn't say it went viral or anything. I think I picked up like 4,000 views or something like that, which was
nice job.
Thanks, man. Yeah, thank you.
I mean, it's not 400.
It's not 400.
Awesome.
Yeah,
4,000.
You're
man.
right.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it was a big deal at the time. It still is. It was a great message. People need.
It is a good message.
So it was getting some traction. So, this is I'll kind of group up like where we're at now in the next couple of days fairly quickly. But basically, what had happened after that was that message had hit. I thought nothing of it other than that's a great message. I said I really enjoyed that. Like that came out. I said to my wife, I said, I don't know where I come up with this love over it. I said I just kind of said it, but I said that's kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool to like put on some t-shirts. And that's as far as that conversation went because I was like, I'm too busy. Yeah. I'm sure I could figure it out, but I'm not.
Yeah.
The next day, a friend of a friend ended up in my inbox. And my like secondary inbox, and he's like telling me he loves my message, and it was cool, and he's talking about these T-shirts. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. He's just mentioning T-shirt. I'm like, yeah, I feel like you're giving me praise or you want to help or something, but I'm not really sure. Next thing I know, he sends me a picture, and he's taken the words that I use, love, and he put it a bar, and then put all these words underneath. I said, hate, anger, fear, rejection, whatever. And I'm crying now because it's like a direct connection. I'm like, wow, that's really hit. I said, I need to meet with you. So we go and meet. He's like, hey, I want to give you some of these shirts. I'm like, I'd love to. I said, but by the way, just so you know, if I get 2 of these, I know a bunch of people are going to want some too. So let's just sell them. Let's see what we can do. Can you print some? He's like, yeah, let's print some. And I have no idea what his operation is. I'm pretty sure it's in his basement at this point.
Yeah.
So anyway, we announced that we're going to print these shirts, and it latches on because that weekend was the Black Lives Matter rally in our city. So people wanted to wear what I was making. Yeah. I'm pretty sure orders were rolling in before we even had a design. But anyway, orders are coming in, $30 a pop. I'm collecting these orders. I'm putting them in an Excel sheet. I'm sending them over to him. He's like, holy, this is crazy. I'm picking up traction. Before I know it, the CTV is the news station in this area. They come by. They want to interview us. More orders come in. I'm looking at him going, can you handle these? He's like, I think so. We don't know what's going to happen. The next divine thing was that I didn't know how I was going to get all the orders out, especially I started getting orders in Ontario and Alberta, further out of Canada. And I was like, I'm just going to take your order and then I'm going to figure out later how to get it to you because I'm moving too quickly here. I was scrolling through on my LinkedIn like the third night of this, and I was like, I saw a video of a large print producer in the air, and I was like, man, I wish I was big enough to be able to afford to print like all of these huge presses, and that'd be so cool. The next day, a friend that I'd known in high school, he caught wind of my story. He calls me. A quick story on that. He, in a half-hour conversation, he says, look, I'm working at that printer. Like we didn't connect. Like he didn't know I was looking at it. I'm working at this place. The place is called Plasticraft here in Atlantic, Canada. I'm working here. I see your story. We have something. We want to help you. I want to take all of your orders for you. I want to package them. I want to send them. So that way you can focus on, continuing to tell your message, and we'll do everything else. Here I am again. I'm bawling again. I talked to the guy who's helping me so far. I said, I'm not taking your orders. Let's just move it over there together. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. Whatever gets the message out there the quickest. Yeah. So we end up, he prints off some, they print off the rest. Long story short, we sold, in 11 days, we sold $9,000 worth of shirts. Every dollar of that we gave back to either my church or Prude, which is like a racial, a Black history type, organization that spreads that message in our area. I gave all the profits back to them. As I said, I didn't plan any of this. Like I didn't need the money at the time. I just wanted, let's just keep this thing rolling. So then after that event, then we looked at it and we said, okay, was that a one-time thing? Or do we continue on with this? And we prayed, we talked, we bounced it off. Orders kept rolling in still. Okay, there might be some value in this. Oh, I also made this isn't the shirt I made. The shirt it's on my website. It's a love over and hate, anger, like a list of things. This is another
fear, anger, racism, I made hatred, the logo, everything. That's
the one. Exactly. Thank you. Yes, I sometimes forget, but so that's the shirt. So I made that shirt and this logo in one night, which I've done logos and designs before. I'm not a designer though, but it usually takes me a long time. I end up nailing them both in like 4 hours. So like another divine thing I would consider. so I looked at that and I said, people are still ordering that after the event. I said, there's a little bit of traction here. Should we continue? Anyhow, that was 2 years ago. We've since grown. We ship across North America. We have a couple different products on our site now. We have a fully functioning e-commerce site. We partner with quite a few local organizations. A mission is obviously attached to this. We want to have some social good. So we will donate shirts to areas of need where children are involved, or we recently partnered with the Canadian Hockey League.
Good grief.
We gave 200 shirts to junior hockey players and the other 200 shirts to hockey players in this area. Like it's just been going, and we've got so many more plans, and
Awesome.
It's just been a blessing to our life. So that, in a snapshot, is love over it.
Love over it, man. It's a great message. No, I mean, really, it is. I mean, fear, anger, racism, hatred, love over it. Great idea. Wonderful idea. You're calling. Thank you for that, by the way. You're calling it a divine story. Or I'm from what I'm getting out of it is that there was a divine intervention you feel in this whole story. Am I right? Am I correct?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. So what
You're absolutely correct. Yes.
What I see and I've heard is a lot of people helping out. Where does the divine part fit in for you?
The divine part that fits in is that when I look back on how this came together, I've been in business. I've built business plans in the past, and I know people who have very successful businesses. I understand what it takes to put a business together and action together. I get that, right? I could not, when I look back on those 11 days, I could not replicate that if I tried. And like the speed at which things came together, it can't be defined in my mind other than another entity coming in and having a hand on that. And it's just one of those things where if you've ever listened to anybody who has a divine intervention, they just say that the right time, right opportunity, it doesn't make any other sense, and it just hits you in your soul where you're like, I did nothing, it just happened. And that's the best way I can explain it.
Gotcha. So what about all the people that are successful without God, without having divine intervention, that do it on their own, that come up with their own ideas? Let's just say Stephen King, for instance, successful writer, comes up with stories all the time. He says he gets them from his brain. It's like kind of like a storm cloud or something, I think he said, and the words and the stories come out of that. He doesn't refer to that as God. So with those kinds of differences, how can you tell it's from God as opposed to just yourself and the love and kindness of human beings?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say that the fun thing about this is that it's one of those things that it's difficult to explain, right? It's difficult to, unless you go through it, it's hard to explain it. And the best way I've wrapped my head around that is that my wife has explained to me what, childbirth is like. Excruciating, hurts, right?
Unbelievable.
There's no pain like it, right? But there's nothing as beautiful as it. And my brain can't comprehend that. I'm like, something that hurts that bad is also the best time in your life. Like, come on. I'll never, ever understand that unless I did. Like, if I was a woman and I could, have a child, then if I never had a child before, she tells me that, then I wouldn't understand it until I actually do go through childbirth. Then I know, I know exactly what you're saying, right?
Right.
So it's hard to explain unless you've gone through it, but when you go through it, So for me, knowing there's a God, it's less about, someone speaking to me like this and saying, hey, A, B, C, D, these are the 5 reasons or 6 reasons that there's a God. Yeah, that helps. But it's not until you have that experience, because that's what he is, to say, oh, man, there's no way that would have happened without that experience being him.
Interesting. So with Stephen King, he does it on his own, but you had Yahweh do it, and it's because of the experience that you know it's Yahweh.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's dive into your experiences with Yahweh. You said you've been a Christian for about 6 years?
I've been a Christian. Yeah, my daughter's going to be 7, so just after she was born. Exactly.
Gotcha. So what brought you into Christianity? What was it that convinced you that this was the right religion?
Super good question. I wasn't exactly looking for, I guess, I never had an upbringing with any religion or any participation of any church or anything along those lines. But I had, now that I look back, I had definitely been heavily influenced by people who were Christians. One very important, significant person was my wife's grandmother or grandfather. Sorry, her grandmother too. Let's not forget her, but her grandfather for sure. And he had passed. He had passed just after my wife gave birth to my daughter Malia, and his life. He was a very devout Christian. He never talked about Christianity with us, but he would live it out, just the way he would help people and his kindness of his heart, and just some very incredible things that he would do. And it was very, very much a question mark while he was alive. It was before I was a Christian. Very much a question mark he was. Anyhow, he had passed, and my wife started to go to this church, and she was really interested in it. She's like, she would come home, and she's like, yeah, they would really reshape things for me, like Jesus' birth and what that meant. Like she would just really explain how things would go at this church. And I said, okay, I'm kind of interested in that. I'd like to see more of that in my life. So I started to go, and it's one of those things where once you start, I started to go because like the pastor, like the speaking was like motivational. I was like, okay, it's kind of motivational. But then I would start like applying some of the things, like don't do this or do that. For example, forgive people. That was a big one. The other things like don't embark on getting drunk, that kind of thing. I started applying these things in my life, and things that I thought would never work, like the forgiveness was probably one of the bigger ones. I had been pretty offended by someone in our family, a close family member, and I always thought, I'm never going to shake this person's hand. I'm never going to allow them in my home. And I went to a message one day, or a church one day, and the message was, you should forgive that person, and you should make amends. And my wife and I came out of that service, and I'm like, are you thinking the same person I'm thinking of? And she's like, yeah, I am. And I said, okay. Well, we should extend a branch here, see what we can come up with. Anyway, we did, and that relationship completely turned around. That relationship that we never thought we would have came into our lives and made a massive impact on our lives. And it's one of those things where I was able to look back and go, I would have never done that had I not heard that instruction from the church. So once you start getting a little taste of, okay, do this, and you see some fruit. Do that, you see some fruit. Do this, and you start doing these things. And it was a couple of years for me. Some people it's quicker, some people it's longer. But for me, I was like, okay, I've been doing enough things now that have been told to me to do, and I'm seeing the experience, like the other side of it. It's hard to deny. So that's like the logical side, and then the other side is you start having encounters, experiences.
So you're encountering God. You're experiencing God.
Exactly.
How do you know it's God? Or your God specifically? Because there's lots of gods out there.
Lots of gods.
Yeah. I could just reference Kali Ma here. I've got a list of things that people have interacted with her. They've summoned her. They've meditated. She's helped out with their life. She's given them power throughout things, love, forgiveness, all that stuff. So how do you know it's your God specifically and not Kali Ma?
That's a great question. I would say that I've continued to study, or as they would say, draw closer to what my God is described as. And through additional experiences, like additional things, like I don't know. I'll read something, and then I'll have a something similar would happen in my day that will kind of confirm that. And that could be happenstance, but it happens regularly. So, and it points back to the Bible that I read. So I'm like, okay, those types of things. So it's one of those things that's kind of hard to explain. Have I studied all of the gods in the world, or no? I haven't.
Yeah.
But to this date, everything I've studied of the God that I know, and would lead me to believe that that's who I'm worshiping.
Interesting. Well, it sounds just like Kali Ma. So, I mean, you might want to make sure next time you're talking to him, make sure it's not Kali Ma. Have you heard of physical voice? I mean,
Kali Ma?
Kali Ma. It's a Hindu god.
I've not heard. Yeah.
Hinduism actually came before
Never
Christianity, so that god actually was first before Yahweh, technically. But that's beside them. So the logic part of it for you is the forgiveness and
yes.
So, well, I'm just going to kind of apply your own love over it to your God.
Yep.
Do you think that applies to him as well? Like he loves over fear, anger, racism, and hatred.
Yes.
Are we reading the same Bible? Man. All right. So why do you feel that way? Why do you feel that he does love over anger, fear, and hatred?
Why do I feel that way?
Yeah. So, I mean, we can point to verses in here that says he hates people, and he doesn't love over that. He hates them. He destroys people out of jealousy, hatred, and anger and wrathfulness and all that stuff. That's not really loving over it. I don't really see that as loving over it. So is there a spot in there specifically that you think he's loving over it, or makes you believe this?
So yeah, I wouldn't say that I feel. I would say that anything that I've read would point to that he does. And like I don't like, for example, like parts where he hates people. I don't even know something that I've come across.
Well, you should probably read the whole Bible from front to beginning. There's a lot in there. Man, there's a few people he hates. Esau, Ephraim, Saul. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So what he hates is, this is my understanding, right? This is where I kind of what he does is he's hating on the way that these people, I'm just obviously generalizing, would maybe treat other people, for example. So let's say when you say Saul, like when I'm thinking of when Paul was Saul, for example, and he was like murdering Christians, like the act of murder and
different Saul
people.
Different Saul,
the king. Not a big fan of that.
It was the King Saul, and he didn't hate that Saul. He loved that Saul. He made him his person. But
I was just saying, like, I meant like it.
So mean people. He hates mean people.
Right.
Okay.
Well, but it's not. No, he doesn't hate the person. He hates the action.
The action. So he doesn't hurt the person. But I got a couple places here. We can just go to Malachi 1:2-3. Yahweh says that, yet I have loved Jacob, but Esau I have hated, and I have turned his mountains into a wasteland and left his inheritance to the desert jackals. Romans 9:13 restates this. He says that Jacob I loved, but Esau I hated. There was never really a good reason here. I don't really saw what Esau did wrong. But we can go to the people of Ephraim. In Hosea 9, he really did not. Ephraim. I'm always pronouncing these things wrong. But he hated them so much because they worshipped other gods that he decided to slaughter their children. Yeah, I will slay your cherished offspring. Because of their sinful deeds, I will drive them out of my house. I will no longer love them. All of their leaders are rebellious. So what's he do? He starves and slaughters their children. I don't think that's really loving over it. I think that's acting out irrationally out of hatred and jealousy and anger. There's a couple more places. I mean, there's a bunch of places in here where he does that. The flood, for instance, is a big one. He didn't love over that. He said, no, I'm going to drown every child on the planet. Here we go, along with their puppies. That's not loving over it. Jesus we can go to Jesus, the forgiveness part, the logic part of your reasoning here. The forgiveness part, from what I see, is Yahweh's unable to forgive without bloodshed. Hebrews 9:22. He can't. He just won't. Well, he does actually, but he refuses to in a mass for the masses. So I don't think that's loving over it either. Instead of just forgiving people, he requires bloodshed. Do you think that's loving over it?
You know, here. Okay, so everything you just pointed out, there might be something in there. I honestly don't know. As a type of person that I am, I'd love to like take all the pieces you just said and like dive into all those. I'm not even familiar with half of them. Like I'm not a great theologian. I've only been a Christian for
Me
6
neither.
years. So I'm on a journey to learn.
Definitely not a theologian.
Right.
Man.
So some really great points great points you're pulling out. Great massive points you're pulling out. Do I have those answers? I don't have those answers. All I know is that to the point in my life, there's a God that showed up in my life that I have then spent my life learning more about and growing closer. And it's only made things, it's only given me more life. Okay. I'll give you another, a really key point. So over last year, I lost two of my siblings had passed away last year.
Sorry, man.
Thanks, man. And so in May last year, my older sister passed away in a car accident. And I'll save all the notes on it, but just real basically, my sister passed away in a car accident, and 66 days later, my brother in a different province, different area of Canada, also passed away in very low points of my life, very low points of my family's life. And I did not know what to do. I hadn't really lost anybody before. My parents are still living. I lost some grandparents and things like that, but nothing like that close. And so in such an instance when I don't know what to do, I just said, okay, I'm just going to do what I've learned so far these last 6 years, come to the same church I'm just going to do what they say to do, which was come here, be surrounded by believers, let them comfort you, lean more on him, so try to get a better understanding of where your brother and sister might be, find peace. Like there's just all these things that I was told to do, so I just didn't lean on my own understanding. I just kept doing what that I was being told to do there. And there's this great it's probably even, I don't know if it's actually in the Bible or if it's just in the song, but it says God turns mourning to dancing. And I don't know if it's in the song or if it's actually in the Bible, but I read that at my sister's funeral, and it came, and then my brother died 66 days later, or I guess 60 days later. Anyway, and that happened. Like, how are people celebrating or finding any joy was near in my mind and most people's minds is impossible, or was impossible, or so incomprehensible when my brother passed away. Like it wouldn't make sense. People were breaking down that didn't even know them. Just hearing the story, it was that heavy, and it was just shaking people. But we found ourselves the night after my brother's funeral. My family, my close family, like everyone had kind of left, and we were celebrating. We were laughing and dancing and singing and enjoying ourselves. And maybe that's just a grief tactic. I mean, that's just our body
celebration of life. Yeah,
sure.
I feel that's a good way to do it.
It is, and but the thing is that many things in life, grief, anger, substances, whatever. You can list all the things off. They are designed to take life from you and hold you back. And then that grief, especially, like that was heavy stuff, very sudden, very unfair, whatever. It has the power to put me in a friggin' mental institution. You know what I mean? Like it has the power to break, lock my mind down and stick me to a corner.
For sure.
Very much so. And it had the power to change a lot. It could have broken my relationship with my wife, because I could have, relied on drinking like I did, 7 years ago when I would party and do all the, that stuff. I could have, there's all kinds of things I could have done, but instead I kept doing what he said and not let those situations define my life, and instead listen more to him to find more life and continue to flourish and produce and not be a victim. Anyway, when I go through something like that, again, back to the experience thing, I can't logically explain that. It has to be gone through. I can't go back and forth on scripture with you about what is and what isn't, if that's good or not. I will definitely, I'm called to definitely like understand it more. So I'm going to take note of the scripture you just noted, and I'm going to look into it 100% because I want to understand that better. But all I can tell you is that to this point, there is no question that there's a God in my life. And maybe it's not Yahweh, maybe it's something, I don't know. But for what I have been following, he's not let me down, which to some people would be like, you lost a brother and a sister, he might have let you down. He didn't. He absolutely didn't.
He let them down.
So it's an experience thing. It's an experience thing.
Well, and I can go to Raja here, who says, fix your eyes on Kali and she'll reduce your suffering. I visualized the goddess, my suffering is already fading away. When I prayed upon her eyes, my eyes were wet, so overwhelming. I heard many stories about her. She's beyond my explanation. I love her. So this person has been helped through Kali Ma with their suffering. There's a ton of them here. I mean, this is just a little bit. And this God comes before your God. To strengthen the power of your spirit, find the resources to overcome life difficulties, achieve spiritual enlightenment, transform your consciousness, gain strength and courage, solve any problems fast and easy, achieve any goals. These are the things that this God does. This God that came before your God. And it's just
good God.
It's it's how do you know it's your invisible person? Like, that's just so weird to me. It's the same with these people. How do they know it's their invisible person? It's there's nothing confirming any of this. What I see in the Bible is a jealous, rage-filled egomaniac, and I highly recommend you read it. And if we want to do some Bible study one time, 100%, man, I'm totally down for that. I love the Bible study part of it. It's my favorite part. Genesis to do it, I'm down. But I highly suggest you do it. There's a lot of problems in there from the very beginning. There's an issue. I mean, Adam and Eve, there's so many issues in that story. Why are the trees there? Why did he put it in the middle of the garden? Why did he allow the serpent in? There's so many different problems. Why is 1 and 2 completely different storyline wise? Issue after issue after issue. And then when you go to these other gods that are claiming to do the same thing, and you still haven't seen your God, and you're not really familiar with that book, it kind of seems like it's not really solid ground that your beliefs are built on here.
Oh, but it is. It's not solid ground to a point where I can say it I can't say it to you in a way that makes logical sense necessarily, but what I can tell you as far as solid ground goes is that all of what I learned about this God, about this God that I have applied to my life has never let me down, has always restored me. So that formula is working. And maybe this other one you're talking about, maybe she does a similar thing. I just haven't encountered her. Maybe that will work too. I don't know. I haven't encountered her yet. I don't know.
Maybe you have, right? And you're attributing it to Yahweh.
The solid ground that I'm standing on, potentially, right? They sound similar in some ways, or similar to what I think mine is, right? So do I expect? I do not expect myself to be able to have the words to convince anybody of that he is like the God, and he is our God. He is in your life. I don't have those words. I don't have them. it has to be a personal experience somebody has, and then it just carries on from there. So I've had the experience. And it's a formula that works, and I'm going to keep going back to it, and it's going to continue to bring me life. And if this other, I keep forgetting the name of the other God, but if that God is, if that, yeah, it's fine. Like, that would work. It's fine. Okay, I don't know.
Pray to Kali Ma instead of Jesus. Let's see what happens. I'll do Joe Pesci. You
Maybe
do Kali Ma, and we'll see what happens. Who has the better life?
Yeah, that might fly. That may fly.
So do you pray to this God? Yahweh, do you pray to him?
I do
Jesus?
pray. I do.
Gotcha.
Yeah, regularly.
Now, what is the point of that? Now, do you think that your God is all-knowing?
Yeah.
And he wants to take care of you?
Yes.
So he knows your needs and he wants to take care of you. Why do you have to pray to him?
I pray. I pray to get a better connection with him, right? So I mean, a lot of my praying is very speaking, and a lot of people will say meditate on his word. So it is meditating, sitting with my thoughts and allowing that to happen. So I think what you're asking is, like, if he's all knowing, he's for me, and he kind of knows the plans of my life, what's the point of even asking him to do it? He should just do it, right?
He should know what you need ahead of time and be like,
exactly.
Send you a telepathy telling you, Andrew, this is God.
Right.
I'm sending you this. No. Yeah. That kind of thing. But instead, we've got 100%. Nothing. We have nothing. Well, we've got no voice, no telepathy.
Oh, well, but right. So, like, yes, he has. This is the way that my mind has come around to this. And the reason why I continue to pray every day is because I believe that, yes, there is a plan that he has for me. Mm-hmm. However, it's up to me to decide whether I want to connect myself and attach myself to said plan. Okay. So when I pray, it's more so it is asking for things to happen, and it's asking for his experience in my life, mm-hmm. and those types of things, and all to draw closer to that plan, so that I can live that life, because I believe it's the best life for me.
So how does it draw you closer to the plan?
So, for example, let's say I'm dealing with a difficult situation. I'll pick one, right? There's all kinds.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what direction to take. I'm like, how do I get out of this situation? And I might have a little bit, like clear my mind a bit, so that next time I'm reading something, it kind of connects with me, and it gets me in alignment with, like, what that plan might be. So yeah, it'd be more like that. It's praying to open myself up.
So you're breaking up pretty bad there.
Connect that I'm looking for.
Sorry, you broke up a lot there. You're praying to connect to the plan, to help guide you through the plan.
Yeah, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Or maybe it's not even that I'm like super. Is it okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, maybe it's not even that I'm like super, like, I'm like looking for the plan every time I pray, that I'm just like, I gotta stay in the plan. No, it could be as simple as praying to find peace in the situation, and praying.
Okay, hold on. Let's go with that. Finding peace in the situation. Finding peace in the situation. As a father, you are a father as well. Yeah. We can sense when our kids are not at peace. If we want to give them peace for a situation, we don't wait for them to ask us. We know ahead of time, and we give that peace as a loving father who knows. So why would you still have to pray for that peace if he already knows you need peace at that point? It doesn't make a whole lot. Why didn't he go again, send you something telepathic going, Andrew, this is God. I'm sending you peace. I know you need it.
Right.
No need to ask me for it.
In order for me to.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair. No. So in order for me to know that my kids need my peace from me, I need to be in the same room as them. I need to be, or at least connected to them somehow.
Yeah,
right?
but you're not God.
If for some reason, what do you mean?
You're just a human being. God can do anything. God can be a million light years away and still be connected. He doesn't have to be in the room, right?
But everything that he is about is dependent on relationship, right? I can completely, I lived a life where I completely removed myself from whatever he wanted for me. So once I decided, hey, I want to go back, I want to get in the room with him and have connection and relationship with him. Now I can hear what he wants from me and get the peace I want from connecting with him.
Paul and Saul. What about Paul and Saul? Saul was a terrible human being to Christians. He tortured them. He hated them. But Jesus still showed up to him. Still showed up.
Oh, I believe he can do that too. I 100% believe he can do that too. Absolutely.
Okay, so he doesn't have to be in a relationship with them already. They can actually hate him, and he can still show up. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, 100%.
100%. But that doesn't really add up to what you're telling me.
So there are situations like you just mentioned where he can show up and he can I've never had one, but people have spiritual awakenings or things like that. I don't know, right? Like people, he can just show up and then it's undeniable and just like that, like a flash, and their lives change and now he's entered their life. So I've had experiences not like that, but I've had other experiences where I'm like, okay, I felt his presence. I believe in him. Now I go to return to him regularly to get in relationship with him and in connection with him to get more of him. Just like I need my son in my room, in our room, close to me that I can protect him.
So you got more.
Is like, I'm going through a stressful situation. I'm just going to run outside, not tell anybody. Well, I can't help him.
But God can, though.
You know what I'm saying?
God can help him no matter where he goes.
Right, but we're also full of free will. We can do whatever we want, right? He's not going to have us all be robots, right?
So why do you?
If he just controlled go ahead, sorry.
No, do you think we all get free will?
We all get free will? Yes.
Why do you think that?
Why do you think we all have free will? That's a good question.
I'm going to tell you right now, there's not one Bible verse that says that we all get free will. Not one. I don't know where this concept comes from.
I've not read them all, so I'll have to believe you until I challenge that.
Yeah.
Do I believe we all have free will?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do.
Why
do I believe that?
But why?
Yeah.
Why do you think that? The Bible tells us something different. The Bible clearly says in several places that it's clear that we do not all get free will. There's an evil spirit from Yahweh that goes over to Saul. We've got Pharaoh. His heart is hardened. Every knee shall bow at the end. That's not really free will. I can either bow or not. No, every knee shall bow. That's not free will at all there. Yahweh sends another lying spirit to the king of Israel, so he'll go die. It's a really interesting conversation there. It's 1 Kings 22. He has a conversation with the beings that are in heaven, and the lying spirit says, I'll help you out, Yahweh. I'll lie to him, and Yahweh sends it out. It's really weird. There's a whole bunch of fun stuff in there, man. I highly suggest we read our Bibles together on the show. That'd be great. But there's a lot of places in here where Yahweh will allow you to be tempted. He raised up Pharaoh for this exact purpose, which means Pharaoh didn't even have free will. Yahweh will force you to love him, Deuteronomy 30. Yahweh does whatever pleases him, Psalm 135. This very clearly, we do not all get free will. So it's very confusing to me and why Christians keep saying we all get free will, but there's nowhere in the Bible that says we all get free will.
Yeah, some good verses you have there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so we are all robots. And what do you think is going to happen when we get to heaven? You think we're going to have free will in heaven? Can we sin in heaven?
So, to what I know or to what I've gotten so far, no, there's no sin in heaven.
Satan sinned in heaven.
Right.
Satan was able to sin in heaven. So were the angels that he cast out. So there's sin in heaven. Not much of a perfect place. Not much free will there either. You're going to be a Yahweh's servant. That's what the Bible tells us. So there's a lot of problems that I have here. There's a lot of issues in the Bible. Especially with the free will part. I don't see that anywhere. So we don't get free will. We're not free to do whatever we want. Yahweh determines our steps, Proverbs 16:9. So, I mean, that's clearly we don't get free will. A quick question, though. Is there anything out of your limited reading of the Bible, is there anything in there that you have an issue with?
Nothing comes to mind.
Definitely need to read your Bible more, man. For sure. So at the end, the love over it is kind of the basis of this whole thing here. And what I see is I don't see Yahweh, the God that you worship, loving over it. I don't. I see him vengefully not loving over it and attacking people and certain things. And you had stated something about wishing terrible things on someone despite their actions. We wouldn't wish something terrible on somebody despite their actions. Would you? Would you see that as loving over it, wishing something terrible on somebody just because of their actions?
No.
Yeah, I don't see that as loving either. But again, we go to the Bible,
right.
and Yahweh is punishing people for their actions, and a lot of their actions are just worshiping other gods. So I don't think that that's very loving over it either. There's a specific verse in Deuteronomy, I believe it is. Deuteronomy 28:30. 28 in general is a pretty gnarly verse. What happens if you listen to Yahweh and what happens if you don't listen to Yahweh? And one of the things he's going to do to you and your wife is Deuteronomy 30, you will be pledged to be married to a woman, but another will take her and rape her. These are the things that Yahweh wants to happen if you don't listen to him. I don't see that as loving over it at all. And that's just one of the horrible things he says in that verse. So I don't see the love in this story. I don't see him loving over it. Can you point to a place in the Bible where Yahweh is actually loving over it?
Man, it's a good question. I did not come prepared with Bible verses today.
No, you're good. Have you read anything though?
I did.
That would bring this up.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Hey man, nothing that comes to mind. Here's the honest to God truth. Okay. Everything you're sharing is like I take my faith seriously, and what you're pointing out, that raises some concerns for sure. Like I never the couple verses you just read there never really registered to me, or I haven't read them yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I take my faith seriously because I'm putting a lot on it. And so the responsible thing for me to do is I'll check them out and I'll challenge them. I've challenged different areas of the Bible before, and it's important. So that's a long way of saying I don't have an answer for you. I don't have any of those. I don't have verses memorized to be able to explain back to you. So I don't know.
Yeah. No, I love the I don't know answers. Honestly, that is my favorite answer on the show.
You didn't pick a very great. Well, yeah. I mean, you just didn't pick a very theologically grounded guess. What you actually attach yourself to is somebody who's had experiences that are just undeniable, and I can speak to those till the cows come home. But it's the learning of like all the verses. Yeah, I'm in that season. Like I'm just scratching that surface. So maybe I don't know. Give me another 5 years. I'll come
You're
back
good.
And
You're
maybe
good.
I'll have a better understanding. Right?
From what I get out of it, the way to understand the God that you worship is to read his book. And in that book, I find a lot of things that are just horrible and horrific and the abusive to humanity, for sure. I just kind of close it out here real quick. My last part anyway. Psalm 136:10, to him who struck down the firstborn of Egypt, his love endures forever. Disgusting. That is such a disgusting verse. The one who struck down the firstborn of Egypt, his love endures forever. That doesn't really compute with me. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But that's just another verse I wanted to throw out there where he's definitely not loving over it. Slaughtering children is not loving over it. But I thank you for your time today. Thank you so much. Plug your stuff. Last words. Go ahead. Last words.
You've given me a lot a lot to chew on. Not that it's shaken my faith at this point at all. Anything you
I didn't expect it to. No, of course
but
not.
always no. But there's been certain areas of the Bible that I've read, and like I just mentioned, I've read before. I wasn't sure about. I've gone through and I spent some time. I understood it better. I got better context, and then I need to get more context on some of the things you pointed out. I didn't come prepared today to be able to answer all those. I did come prepared today to talk about my experiences and what love over it meant, and how it's changed people, how it's changed me. So you've done a great job of challenging me. I am 1000% up for the challenge. I can't wait to rewatch this and go through and spend some time on those things and understand it better. And ultimately, this was fun. This was this gave me something. This gave me some more homework to do. Which what I can't. This journey that I call a relationship with God. To me, it's very, very new. And the more I challenge him, the more I get to know him, the better it gets. So this is ultimately going to be a very big help to me going forward.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Your stuff's at loveoverit.com, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Loveoverit.com.
I don't know. Yeah.
Check out the stuff. It's a great message.
Yeah.
It's really awesome, man. I really appreciate it, though. But definitely dive into that Bible, and I'm here for you if you want to go over any of it with me. If you want to come back on the show, we can discuss different chapters, verses, whatever you want, man. I'm totally for it. Bible study is my favorite part, honestly. So take care. Thanks for your time. Talk to you later. And that's all the show there is for you today. Thanks for listening. If you like what you heard and want to help keep the recording light on, simply go to patreon.com/BSW the podcast and sign up to be a supporter of the show. Your episodic tithes of $1 or more will give you access to the patron feed, unaired conversations, early access to each episode, and much more. For the latest events, BSW swag, and a peek behind the scenes, head on over to the show's ever-evolving webpage at thebiblesayswhat.com. The Bible Says What the book is out. Head on over to thebiblesayswhat.com and get yourself and your grandma a signed copy. Thanks to the cosmic powers of the internet, it is now possible to buy me a beer or coffee online. Simply go to buymeacoffee.com/BSW the podcast and click the appropriate buttons. If you can't support the show monetarily, please like, share, and or leave a review. As always, you can find me at the Bible Says What Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Instagram pages. You can also reach me at bswthepodcast@gmail.com. And no matter which platform you use to listen to your podcasts, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on the next episode. Until then, would you kindly pick up your Bibles and read them? One more time. Doing it the right way. From in